Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy News with me, apparently all by myself. Within the 30 seconds of the credit, Chewie did his daily dropout. Isn't that nice? What good timing. What a polite person. Hey team, how are you all? I haven't even opened up the chat yet. You guys being nice to each other and going well on the chat? Oh, look, there's even people doing super chats and stuff already. Hope you're all well. I'm sure Chewie will be back to us. There we go. Bye, Chewie. I'm sure we'll be back any second. So good to be back with you tonight. We are having a look at the story where I think I've written that there are charges for Destiny protesters. It's kind of a little bit of a paraphrase, I guess, because we haven't heard who are the people facing charges. They may or may not be a part of Destiny, but there is certainly that Destiny connection to the charges. Oh, hey, man, you decided to join us tonight. That's good of you. Appreciate it. We're just saying tonight's show we're going to talk about the charges that have been brought against, I think it's 4 of the individuals from the protests in West Auckland associated with Destiny Church. I was just saying as you're coming in, Chewie, we don't know who they are yet, so we don't actually know if they are Destiny Church members because there was more than just Destiny there. But, you know, it was aligned with, alongside Destiny Church's involvement, and we'll see what happens. Also, some more stuff around school lunches today.
Of course.
There's been some official polling done on what New Zealanders think of this nightmare. And also there was a really interesting guest this morning on breakfast. He was the Trust House chief executive. Trust House was a group who was doing school lunches before the government changed it. And now he's building a collective to try and basically put something else back in front of the government. But he had some interesting things to say about these $3 meals, actually that they're not $3 meals. And this is fascinating because if there's a contract with Compass for $3 meals, and now if Compass is getting $4, $5, $6 a meal for them, what does that say about our negotiations when it comes to our CEO PM? That they made a deal with this company, and then the company went, I know how we made that deal. Yeah, we'd like a bit more cash as well. So we'll look at that as well. Also, Dr. Olivier Jutel is going to join us as well, a fellow Dunedinite from Otago University, a lecturer in comms and media. We're talking about, now we're going to kind of maybe baby steps in this. Maybe we'll do this over a few weeks, but certainly look at, there is some, I don't even know how to say it, beliefs, some accusations, some real things, that there is a DOGE type entity about to build itself up in New Zealand society. Olivier's got all the info on that, so we'll have a look at that and try and figure that out. Before we do though, Chewie, want to say a huge thanks to all of our patrons. If you're a patron, you will have already have seen this today, Chewie. I messaged this to you today, but that was straight off the press today. You can see that this is called weeding, when you pick the white bits out to make the thing. So we're weeding out the one that's the grassroots logo, but there is the tax work less, tax wealth more. That will be white on a black t-shirt, and we'll do a black equivalent on a white t-shirt. And we hope to have those next week. Now, we probably won't have the t-shirts, in other words, ordered them and purchased them. So maybe we'll go back to the old days and do a bit of a pre-order and give you a week to purchase them, and then we'll order all the t-shirts at the end of the week. But tax work less, tax wealth more, we're hoping to have in the store for next week. And Chewie, I'm going to do our darndest to print up a couple this weekend, one for you, one for me, and I think we should wear them on Monday night whilst we're interviewing Chippy. What do you think?
Excellent. Yes, good idea.
I mean, I don't know if Chippy's team's watching right now, but if they're not, then we can have a little secret meeting between us and the 1,000 people watching. And that is, maybe we don't even mention them. Maybe we just wear them. Maybe we just see what happens, you know? Or we could go
secrets.
this and point to them. And speaking of the store, it is open, it is going. We do have a bunch of stuff in there as well. There is the Chewie Foo t-shirt, obviously, because Chewie is ginger and likes to blow his top. The Nikki No Boats is in there as well. We've got the BHM Pat and Chewie and the Tiraranga Tiratanga buffer. Some word last night around the traps that people want the rainbow buffer to come back. Yeah, we'll see about that.
We talked about that last night, Pat.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Also, stickers are there and they're available as well. Remember, anyone who purchases a hoodie, a t-shirt, a combination of that, or one of the packs when it comes to the stickers, will also throw in there a We Are the Grassroots, which is the new sticker, which will be put into the packs next month. But it also means, Chewie, we have another new sticker coming. It's going to be that one, which I think that sticker would be great. Stuck in legal places all around the country. Legal places, just making that quite clear. Tax work less, tax wealth more. So yes, lots going on. Chewie, is there anything else we need to get to before we get into this? It's basically, we're going to have a class in a minute. It's Doge NZ 101. I think is what we're doing.
So does anybody need to go to the bathroom before we get started?
Pens out, please. Pens out. And there will be a test afterwards that Chewie's going to hold. The good thing about a test afterwards is this is all recorded. Are you aware, Chewie, that this is recorded? What we're doing now is actually recorded.
Yes.
You're aware?
Yes, I am aware of that, Pat. Yes, thank you.
Also, just a couple of things for last night before we bring Olivier in. It's the conversation we had last night about the idea for wasted school lunches. The conversation continued on today. And I had a phone call from some people who I emailed last night who are involved in the education sector, and they quite like the idea. So I'm just earmarking that it is an ongoing conversation. It's not going to be one of those things that sometimes we do a kooky, crazy idea out there and then all of a sudden it just disappears. We are going to continue that conversation. And I am told by these people within the education sector that there are schools out there already thinking about doing some kind of protest as well. So whether we get a chance to lead something or we get a chance to support something else, those conversations are going on out there at the minute. And also, we got a no from Mr. Luxon, funnily enough, Chewie.
We got an answer though. That's
we
something.
got an answer. And Nicola Willis, we got a, what would you like to talk about? And I'm going, oh gosh, this is a long list. So
wow,
those conversations continue. Righty ho, he is a lecturer in communications and media at the University of Otago. He is a great skater as well, skateboarder. If you look at his profile picture on Blue Sky, Dr. Olivier Jutel joins us this evening. Good evening, Doctor, the good doctor.
You know, honorifics are kind of lame, but thank you. It's great to be with you. Speaking of skateboarding, I have to shout out my homie, Sean Duffel, who's a big BHN fan and has the Nikki No Boat. So big shout out.
We met. That was a funny connection that we saw because he bought one or two of the shirts, I can't remember, and then he wore them on the ferry, and I think the ferry broke down that time he wore them. And then I saw a tweet that Sean put out. And the tweet was a message to one of his friends about how he had just jinxed it because he had worn the thing on the ferry. And then I find out the next week, Chewie, because of course everything was redacted, who was the friend that he was tweeting to or texting to?
Was it my wife?
It was your wife.
Yeah.
So the circle is complete. The circle is complete.
We love the little community of Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's a pity we're not a real country with like working ferries or rail or anything like that. But you know, we all know everybody, so that's nice.
It's like Narnia, working ferries and rail. It's a mythical place. Or Japan, one of the two. It could be both of them. Hey, now Olivia, you're on Blue Sky. You've bailed from Twitter? Are you out of that place?
Sorry, I have not bailed on Twitter.
Don't be sorry.
I still lurk because it's still like a place. I mean, definitely like for Palestine coverage, or I mean, I follow a lot of like crypto and venture capital people, and it's like a real space where they like summon their community and their energy and their dark magic for shit coins. So I'm still on Twitter X. Blue Sky is, it's this thing that's come up, and it's really interesting, and it's a positive space, but there's not always friction. Do you know what I mean? And this is not like, I mean, Twitter X is a fucking cesspool of, everything in the news feed is like, it's whatever. It's sort of 4chan meets Fox News and all that bad stuff. But I'm on the Blue Sky, and it's different things hit different places.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is where I've been seeing you talking about NZ's Doge, and I won't go too far into it, but there's a what do you call it? A post, I guess, a post from a week ago. An NZ government owned
I don't really like
R&D. An NZ government-owned R&D firm, Callaghan Innovation, is launching a, quote, Web3 hackathon, end quote, to develop our very own Doge. It's fitting that they will still tie themselves to vaporous scam tech, Web3, and aspiring to loot the public good. So this sounds like something we should all know about. So we'd like to talk to us about the Web3 hackathon, the Doge, the NZ Doge that might be coming, and what that means for those of us who are beyond understanding all the tech stuff.
Well, look, you got to tap me out in about like 2 minutes, but here goes. I mean, I think so much of like Web3 and blockchain and crypto and AI is like shrouded in sort of obscurantist, that's a fancy word for like deceptive rhetoric. And oftentimes tech will be used as its own sort of force or magical power to do very political things that people really want to do. So the thing about Elon Musk and Doge is it's slash and burn austerity. It's a looting of the public trust. It's, taking the proverbial blowtorch out to basically reinforce a kind of cynicism that nothing good can come from government. So it's not that they're like actually sincere in like finding efficiency or making government work. The point is to like destroy it so that no one ever looks to government ever again. And then we have to trade in goods and services with like X coin or whatever stupid shit coins that come out of it. So there is a tech part to this. So the tech part is what makes it distinct from, David Seymour's ministry, but the political project and ideology is very similar. And of course, so Doge is basically, Musk, the tech oligarch, coming in and doing what it is that the Republican project has always wanted to do, but, really radically accelerating that. And, but also sort of like trying to weld like AI applications and tech into like government infrastructure. Because tech people, and a hackathon. So this concept of a hackathon is like, let's all get together and jam out some ideas and like code and programming, and maybe we'll find like some solutions. But behind that sort of nice optimistic veneer is like, let's crack open the government's sort of access to data and procure government services and put them in sort of, our new sort of software platforms. So it's kind of like, getting your foot in the door to capture so many sort of government services. Now we can talk about Web3, we can talk about Callaghan, but I think that's the sort of overall sort of politics of what Doge does, is just to take a blowtorch to complete the sort of right-wing austerity project to government. And
it's using that philosophy of move fast and break things. I mean, how many times have we heard Elon Musk break things and then go, oh, yeah, by the way, that cancer funding that we cut? Yeah, we should bring that back. We made a mistake. Or, that looking after, was it starving kids in Africa? Yeah, we'll put that back in. And so it's the break stuff as well. I guess I wonder how many things they break that other people then don't pick up on that then stay broke after that.
100%. And the thing about the move fast and break things philosophy that's guided venture capital and startup culture since the years of Obama is that these are people that like to declare themselves, experts in the only skill set that matters, which is like tech and programming and engineering. And of course, Elon Musk isn't actually good at any of those things, but whatever. Like that's the sort of like, skeleton key for all other problems. Like we can just program money through crypto and the blockchain. Like we don't actually have to understand the social complexities or the public trust that money is based on, right? And And that move fast and break things, we're really like, tech is in its sort of like really degenerate mode of, not necessarily creating whatever, let's just say high-speed rail, and even Tesla is sort of like a tax credit sort of scheme, but we're in this sort of like software mode, because software is the easiest thing that allows people to extract like monopoly rents. If you can make government sectors dependent upon like platforms and tech, then you can just like squeeze that thing forever with actually developing something that people like. People don't like using AI. Like, it's terrible for productivity. So that's sort of like the maneuver and the arrogance. And the funny thing here in this hackathon. So I guess to explain, Callaghan Innovation is a crown entity. They've had many of their top scientists and researchers that's been slashed and burned, and we're sort of left with this rump of people that are interested in like Web3, and like Web3 is like the apes. Do you remember the apes? Do y'all remember the Bored Apes and NFTs and that nonsense? Those people in 2022 were going to convince y'all that we were going to live in like a metaverse of like constant on life virtual reality, and your silly little crypto punk or Bored Ape or Fluff Club Rabbit was going to be your like avatar as you navigate this space. And that was cringe, and everybody hated it, and it was like a huge pump and rug pull. But here we are. We're still, Callaghan has this organization, Web3 New Zealand, and their view is like, what is the sort of pressing social question of the moment? It's like, oh right, let's just pardon the pun, let's just ape Elon Musk, because that's going great. I mean, like, where do you have to be in like not understanding the world and like the public trust that you think that is good? And I kind of want to give these people I don't want to say benefit of the doubt that they're so myopic, or they're so singularly focused on their apes or their fluff bunnies that they're maybe not black-pilled fascists, but maybe there's a few of them there too. I don't know.
I think about Doge, and I think about 19-year-olds called big balls making decisions to eliminate the Department of Education. So that's what I think about when I think about Doge in its worst case scenario. Because this word Doge is being used around for what you're talking about. Contextualize that. Are you saying that in New Zealand we could be looking at something similar to that? Or are you just saying the kind of vibe of it is similar?
I'd say it's a little bit more pathetic than, so yeah, you described it quite well. Like, Doge is like Peter Thiel's Blood Boys. So that's that's a line from the Silicon Valley, his army of, and apparently they're all doing it on spec so that VC will invest in their startups down the line. Like, they're saying we're not even doing it for a wait. Like, this is like weird sort of feudal politics of tech. But anyway, I'd say we're sort of pathetically, it's kind of like how Winston Peters is like launching his DEI bill. Like, we're just so in the backwash of American culture that we just think this is like a good thing. I'll give you an example. Like, 2023, we had this is when labor was still in power. We had this government white paper by the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee about crypto and stable coins and that kind of stuff. And the sort of expert advisory report that we got was just basically sucking up to Mark Andreessen. And Mark Andreessen is a big venture capitalist. His firm is A16Z. His other partner, Ben Horowitz, met with cabinet last July. And like, he's an insane fascist, like, but also like doesn't understand finance, makes the most ridiculous, ludicrous, inflated claims about tech and how venture capitalists should be like worshipped as the great revolutionaries of our time. And so this government white paper was basically like, please, Mark Andreessen, we're here, come bestow us with your like investment and your money. So it's a sort of like, it's like a pathetic, it's like a pathetic bat signal that like we're open for business. And again, and look, and maybe I'm being sort of like, this is like a Kiwi cultural exception. Like, New Zealanders are not necessarily that sort of full pilled mode. I think they're just sort of like weirdly naive and like optimistic about technology, and they're just sort of fixated on their apes and their NFTs, and it's getting a little bit crazy. I don't expect this hackathon to then show up on the prime minister's desk or in cabinet meetings as like, here's the model. But the fact that, again, that nominally our best and brightest in research and development are spending any time thinking about this is just, it's just a massive indictment.
I always find venture capitalists to be like the useless middleman. You know, they take the genius kid who's got the idea, and they locate the successful businessman who's got the money, and they clip the ticket on the way through as they bring them together. You know what I mean? It's like you say that these venture capitalists want to be worshipped, but I'm just like, it's like you're a secretary, a glorified secretary, bringing people together and then clipping the ticket on the way through. But I was going to say, Chewie, you're far more into the tech world than I am. What do you want to throw out there about what we're talking about?
I love the flim-flammery that has come out of crypto. The absolute bafflement of like, oh, you've got to get in on the ground floor on this because it's got blockchain. So that means that it's okay. So explain blockchain to me. I can't, but it's cool. Look at this monkey.
You gotta feel it. You know, you just gotta feel it.
Yeah, it's just
That's
just on trust. You know, you take your real useful money that you can just use anywhere, and you turn it into this, which to use you have to turn it back into money, and it might all disappear. It's part of the fun of it. But yeah, people disappear down a hole of new tech.
Mm-hmm.
Like Elon's a perfect example of you get enough of a reputation and like, cool, he bought Tesla, he made the electric car marketable and achievable and palatable and all of that sort of thing. But then from that point on, it's all lies. You know, we're going to have full self-driving this year. Yes. Oh, by that I meant next year. What I meant was 4 years from now. We'll be on Mars in 2024. Your car will also be a taxi. None of these things have happened. Yeah. But people listen to the dude.
Well, he did turn Tesla into a cult, you know, like that was part of his brilliant marketing. And so these people do sort of, you know, well, I don't know if they understand, but they are able to sort of like upsell lying. And of course, Peter Thiel, New Zealand citizen, famously said, you should run your startup like a cult. You know, and crypto is its own sort of like, you have to be in the cult logic of like, oh no, this thing that you can't really use, that has no essential like function, like you know, this is so stupid, but basically the blockchain is this encrypted lottery in which you're trying to solve a hash or a math puzzle, not through any sort of like higher order math that is useful, but just by like, you know, burning graphics cards to like guess the lottery. They will say that process is like the thing that the future will be built on. That is the most fundamental, important technology ever. And no one believes that. You have to be in a cult to believe that. So
you pull the curtain aside and it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, well, this is the funny thing is like they're running pretty, you say flim-flam, like, but just like pretty run-of-the-mill scams. Like this is not, they're not even innovative in terms of like how you think about like financial chicanery and scamming. But yeah, to Pat's point, like venture capitalists, they love this stuff because their return and their sort of management of a large fund, their bag is like guaranteed. So they have the incentive to push the boundaries of whether it's AI or Web3 or anything else. And there's just so much sort of, and it's not even that they like connect business to like a talented startup. They mold the startups in their image to help legitimate the broader network of other stuff they got going on, so that everybody becomes, oh, you've got to do the same investment strategy as Peter Thiel. Like, or you can only invest in a startup that, as Peter Thiel puts it, will guarantee the return of your whole fund. So people like way overshoot what it is that any tech might be useful for, and claim that something is AI that's not AI, et cetera, et cetera.
So I guess in relation with New Zealand and I guess in relation to the Callaghan Group and that sort of thing, do you think we here in New Zealand are quite vulnerable to this from, I guess, that awesome combination of the small country syndrome of like, look at us, we need to get ideas from overseas, bring them here, and then not understanding what the ideas are? And you see businesses and government just falling for it.
I mean, I think everyone's vulnerable. I mean, Doge is in charge of the U.S. Well, is at the center of the U.S. government. So the U.S. is vulnerable. And I've written a lot about tech in the developing world that's like built on like, a kind of colonial conquest and lying to people in the developing world. But like, people were falling for Theranos back in 2014. You know what I mean? So we're all vulnerable, but we're bedazzled by line go up. That's the meme from crypto. It's just like there is nothing more real and sublime than number go up. And in our current phase of like capitalism, it's basically public sector bilking or military industrial complex bilking and like, these jerry-rigged financial Ponzi schemes. And again, how can we, and again, in America, how can we gut the Securities and Exchange Commission or the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau to allow us to more easily scam, right? And how, the president himself is running shit coins, right? So, and the horrible sort of thing here is, and I started with Doge as this assault on the public trust. Are people so jaded that we can only ever think about financial independence or, escaping the drudgery of work as like just getting one over on our neighbor or like online sports gambling or, like we had this just yesterday with the new sort of tendering of online gambling contracts to offshore corporates who, I mean, look, no fan of Sky City Casino, but like, hey, the Lotteries Commission helps our kids play sport, blah, blah, blah. We're at least retaining this vice within a set of sort of like national public sort of priorities. Yes, we're vulnerable, small country syndrome for sure. We're vulnerable in terms of our sort of economic perilous situation, but like this is capitalism at the moment. Like I wouldn't want to sort of like say that these guys are like perverting some, honest, good capitalist system. Like this is just the height of capital and financialization at the moment. In many respects, the crypto people are able to do through their tech what it was, the kind of stuff that got us to the great financial crisis of 08 and 09. It's not anything necessarily new, right? Ponzi schemes are 100 years old.
Other thing about the move fast and break things and what you guys are talking about in the digital or the tech world, it's the same. That what they let them get away with. There's a really good piece today on Kyle Kalinski's channel where he talks about Elon's Tesla caught in a massive fraud campaign. And I was thinking, oh gosh, what's this all about? Maybe it's about they're fudging their numbers or da-da-da-da-da. But he's literally goes into, showing about all the promises that have been made about Teslas and sold. Like, in other words, taking deposits for this Roadster that was going to be here last year and then this year and then next year. And anyone else doing that, Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, would have been in jail yonks ago. But, the wealthy, the unbelievably wealthy, the oligarch, if you will, the tech bro get away with it. Because I can remember, it might have been Joe Rogan, which is not the best reference point, but Joe Rogan talking about Elon boring a tunnel underneath Los Angeles. And he literally said the only reason they let him do it is because he's rich. Like if some random came to the government with this idea, they'd just laugh him out of the building. But because Elon's worth so much, they basically let him do whatever he wants. And that, I think that's true. So all of these things compiling on top of each other, and the always irony for me about the people who aren't billionaires, multimillionaires, millionaires, 100,000 heirs, they're as Dave Chappelle describes, the dusty white people from the middle of Bible Belt, then stand up for these guys and stand up for their efforts to enrich themselves, the billionaire class and the millionaire class, and these people who are the working poor have become so feudal or tribal or whatever it is. They're going, yes, this is what we want. Fighting for the right for billionaires to become multiple billionaires. It's just so bizarre.
I think there's some of that, but I think it's thinner. I think that is only the ability of, I suppose, a Trump or a Musk to cleave off what should be like the natural constituency for like a left wing or center left political party is only just reflective of the fact that there's no left wing political party in the U.S. and you know, I know you're getting Chippy on tomorrow night, but if they think they can just Keir Starmer their way back to power, I mean, you know, seriously, like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to stand for some shit. You have to fight. Like, things are real right now. And I look, you know, I want to be optimistic, but I haven't seen as much fight as I would like, given the opportunities. I'm seeing a lot of that kind. And I'm sorry, this got into a whole election stuff, but I'm seeing that sort of, oh, you can't announce policies 1 year out type of mentality. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like, you got to fight for people. So there is that feudal slave mentality. And I will say, this is an anecdote I shared with Kyle on One of 200 that, like, you know, I have young adult children, and one told me once of when he was working in retail of somebody who dropped in a CV who said that his interest was in passive income. And it's like, my brother, you watch podcasts with people talking about passive income and crypto. You know what I mean? Like, this is this weird thing so that is sort of what you're describing, right? That like, so I wouldn't want to discount that, but I think it's still thin, and to sort of like bring it back to what Doge politically is trying to do is trying to break the ability of people to think that there's anything collectively or politically that might be done for, you know, everyday people.
Well, let's wrap on this, right? So you've just described what Doge is trying to do. What do you think the intention of the New Zealand Doge? What are they trying to do?
It's really kind of pathetic lickspittle, like, how may we serve you, Silicon Valley masters? Like, There was a lot of excitement around Peter Thiel's naturalization and people that weren't like ostensibly like, you know, right-wing, dark enlightenment, neo-feudalists were really like defending Peter Thiel, like, hey, insulting Peter Thiel will get us nowhere. Like, I'm sorry, the man is like ridiculous. He's worth insulting. You're right. He thinks he's going to live forever. He hates democracy. He believes that, you know, women and minorities getting the vote has ruined, you know, the potential for American freedom, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he's worth criticizing till the cows come home. So I think there is this kind of bedazzlement by, yes, this, you know, this was the line for the last 10 years is like, look, if we play our cards right, we might be the next Silicon Valley, right? We can get some digital nomads to come here. We can signal to them that our sector is really inviting of Web3, that as that white paper I mentioned, we're going to be like an open regulatory sandbox. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Judith Collins takes this up. She seems like she loves AI, she loves tech, and maybe that appeals to her sensibilities. But again, from some of my people that are a little bit closer to Callaghan, it's sort of like, you know, Callaghan is running down the clock, and this one corner of Callaghan that's very blockchain and crypto centric is trying this play, and you know, and maybe I'm being too kind and generous, and things could escalate stupidly very quickly. But it's definitely something that we should be primed for, and, you know, drawing a line, and that we can take, you know, so workers everywhere are having to deal with like AI and the way in which this is being wielded as like a weapon of class warfare. And we should understand that, yeah, they want to do, people in tech, even when they think they're just like being innovative or being optimistic, this is the project that they're fundamentally connected to, unless they're working hard on another project, on something that's aligned with values of the public good, and that really like understands that, right? So that's a litmus test for tech.
I think what I'd like to be able to do is stay in touch and keep talking about this, because it sounds like it's not a one-off conversation. We need to keep it in the forefront of our minds, and so we'll have you back again super soon if that's all right with you.
Pleasure, lads. I wear my black cap.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Olivier Jutel from the University of Otago. Apologies for whatever's happening with my camera. I have no idea what's going on, so I apologize. But
It's funny when I asked a question about whether New Zealand's vulnerable to this sort of tech flammery, I had Judith Collins firmly in the front of my mind. Because I've seen some I guess tweets or posts or whatever from her regarding tech that is just like, oh, you would fall for a chain letter.
Yeah.
This is not good.
I am a prince from Nigeria, and I need your bank account to should fall.
Blockchain.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you get to the super chats, and I'm going to zoom this camera in one more time. And if it cuts out again, I might just leave it on the wide shot all night. So off you go, sir.
Okay, so starting with it's in the ballot. Big news. At 8:50 p.m., the crime (brackets theft by employer) amendment bill passed its third reading and is now going into law. It will be a crime punishable by prison for stealing from your staff's pay packet. This is objectively a good thing, and this is why I think everybody's rallied around it. I'm surprised it's taken this long to have something
Is that
in
the
law.
was that to correct me if I'm wrong? Was that the Labor bill that Winston supported? There's that big headline the other week. Winston Porter's supporting the Greens or something. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
Yep, it's a good piece of legislation, and it's good to see that that's passed now. Uncle John from Jamaica, can you make BHN socks, please?
Oh,
thanks for your mahi. So many things.
I have
We'll
to
get
say, I
to
got
the underwear line.
I got an email today that said your beanies have been sent. So they should be here in the next few days or weeks or months, or I don't know. It's coming from China. I don't know how long it'll take.
Peter with the $5 super chat. I've soured on contemporary tech and gone back to using RSS feeds and blogging, among other things. AI slop has really turned me off a lot of things. Look, I agree with that. As someone that works in tech, there is, retail tech, let's be honest. I'm not developing the next social media platform. Nothing drives me batty than AI and everything. It just is so pointless and such a dilution of everything: art, creativity, writing, photography, just everything.
I don't know how. I use Gmail platform rather than using the Outlook sort of thing. And when I open an email, there's an AI prompt saying, do you want us to write the email for you? I'm like, you don't have your fucking idea who I'm writing to or what I'm writing about.
Yeah.
And before you write a word, it asks you if it wants you to write your email for you.
Yeah. All of our phones have AI on them now. The computers we're using have AI on them now. Like, none of this was requested. None of this was asked for. None of this is something that people can opt in or out of. It's just fucking there.
Well, there's a gap in the market, isn't it? You could maybe a cell phone company can develop a cell phone that's got a little switch on it that goes AI. No AI. Yes, I'd like to invoke AI through my system, but I guess they can't pull it out, can they? Yosh. Anything else from the chat?
Sorry, I thought you'd taken over because
no. I just want to put that up about bras and undies and stuff because I thought it was funny.
Stay Positive says we need a monorail. Correct.
Yeah, monorail.
Ogdenville's got one. We deserve one. Yeah. Mr. Arvids, CoffeeZilla on YouTube covers these crypto scams.
CoffeeZilla was very good with the Hocktour girl and her coin. There's some very good in-depth conversations there.
Like this is what we mean when they're classic scams. Pump and dump, a rug pull. These are all terms that have been around for ages for a particular scam. It's just that this time round, the product is crypto.
Yeah.
And people keep falling for it. Mr. Arvids again, Trump wants a crypto reserve, which is a terrible idea. Yes, it is. And do you know what? You should ask the question, is it a scam? And the answer is yep.
Yeah.
Just before that was announced, someone bought an enormous amount of Ethereum.
300 million or something, eh? I listen. I mean, like
based on that.
we're no experts in this, but when Gary's Economics gets asked the question, "What is crypto?" and he goes a pyramid scheme, I'm like, that's enough for me. I'll just
Yeah,
I'll just bow to my
100%.
superior knowledge.
Yeah, like the whole thing with the idea of cash, and I mean, it's or the value of a currency is that it's backed by the productivity of the country, or even if you go back further, how much fucking gold they had. And now crypto is based on fucking wishy thinking.
Yeah.
You can't make money on wishy thinking. And Kiwi Bibs. So Elon is acting like the head of a multi-level marketing company. Yes.
Did
Yes
you see
is
the
answer.
advert today? The advert for Tesla on the lawn of the White House.
Oh, yeah. So there's that, and I also saw a question asked of Trump of like, are you aware of how much money you made out of your crypto thing? And he goes, oh, I don't know. And it was a couple of $1 billion. Now, there's the classic story of the fact that when Jimmy Carter was president, there was such concern over a conflict of interest on making money while you're the president that they made him sell his family peanut farm. And now, flash forward, 50 years, everybody's fucking cool with Trump on the White House lawn shilling for Tesla. And in the Oval Office itself, crypto coins. It's madness. They're in a death spiral. There's no other word for it.
It is the end of this society. What do you call it? The Roman Empire. It's the end of this empire.
Fall of the Roman Empire. Absolutely.
Fall of the empire. Australia, our sworn enemy, feeding our children? Question mark, question mark. Australia, our sworn enemy?
I saw a great comment on Blue Sky about this. If you don't know what we're talking about, because of the collapse of the Libelle group, Compass is having to outsource meals to Australia to fill the gap. So we're now in the unique position of having school lunches able to be threatened by Chinese Navy actions.
And when they said it would be hard to have a system where the meal was getting in Hamilton and it had to travel to Bluff, okay. Sydney, Gold Coast. Hello, people. What are we talking about? Citizen Gold. Thank you for your super chats. Very generous. Late fee. In 2008, there were 3 of us that started a conference. I'm at that conference now. Drupal South. Says Citizen Gold. Right. Let's get on to have a look at the story around Brian Tamaki's boys. Well, technically it's Brian Tamaki's girls, because I think 1 male and 3 females have been charged with assault. But it wasn't, I guess what I would be careful with here is the charges that have come are people from the protest. We don't know if they're definitely Destiny Church, but no, because Melissa here tells you who actually organised the protest, and it's not Destiny Church. So what I'm just saying is they may not be. But
really?
But
are we really sure about it?
But when it's proven, if it's proven that it's Destiny Church, does that now mean we can classify Destiny Church as a criminal entity? And does that then mean their biker gang can have their patches banned? Because remember, that's the thing. It has to be a criminal entity and has to have all those things like the rockers in the patch and all that kind of stuff. Can those two things be linked, and can those patches then be banned by this government trying to crack down on crime? Crime potentially happen. I guess alleged crimes at the moment because it's just accusations and charges, but I'm interested to know if
there's a very interesting charge in there. I hope they mention that. If not, I'll fill you in afterwards.
We'll go to it. Here we go.
Arrested 4 people in relation to a protest involving Destiny Church members.
And I think probably because the charges are coming, it's interesting the decision that One News has done. They blur the footage. Like, we've all seen the footage. We showed it for days. But now the footage is being blurred, and I'm assuming that's because it's before the courts. And even though you could go back a week and have a look at TVNZ's clear coverage, when they do it now, the coverage is blurred.
At a children's event in a West Auckland library. The event was part of all.
I hate how she says library, but that's just a personal thing. Library, but that's, that's just me.
Auckland's Pride Festival last month. Let's go live now to Isabelle Prasad in Te Atatu. What more can you tell us, Isabelle?
Kia ora, Melissa. Police have been thoroughly investigating the protest that took place here last month, and this morning made 4 arrests after attending addresses in South and West Auckland. Now, the protest was created by the Freedom and Rights Coalition, and
So there you go. The protest was officially organised by the Freedom and Rights Coalition. Don't give me grief, Chewie. Don't give me grief. I'm just giving the facts.
They're completely unconnected
I'm
to
just
Destiny,
giving
Freedom and
the
Rights.
facts.
No,
Shush.
no, smoke and mirrors. What a
attended by
bunch of
Destiny
bollocks.
Church members who were attempting to shut down a Rainbow Pride event being held inside. Footage from inside the centre on the day
It's funny because they've blurred it. It looks like a remake, but it's not a remake. It's actual footage that they've blurred.
shows chaotic scenes including pushing, punching and shoving. So far, 8 victims have filed complaints with police, with 6 witnesses also supplying statements. This event not only shocked the Rainbow community, but also locals, staff members, and also children and families who were there at the time. Police have described the violence and intimidation shown on that day as completely unacceptable.
Okay, Isabelle, what can you tell us about the people charged?
Well, those arrested so far include a 67-year-old man who was charged with 3 counts of assault, a 28-year-old woman with 2 counts of assault, as well as a 19 and 50-year-old woman who have also been charged with a count of assault.
Now, I'm assuming you want to pick up on the word indecent, are you, Chewie? Do you want to expand it? Let me just put this out there. And let me just put this caveat, as long as we can talk about it, because it's now before the courts. Just we want to be aware of that. But do you want to add to it?
I just find that it just very interesting that these people that were wanting to stand up to stop sexual abuse or corruption of people went from 0 to indecent assault. Real quick there. Just getting in a spicy assault there.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up, actually, looking up the Crimes Act 1961, indecent assault 135. Everyone is liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 7 years who indecently assaults another person. But the question is, what do we mean by indecent assault? Because that's what you're alluding to. Because I know what you're saying. That sounds like it's got sexual overtones to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go
absolutely.
define indecent assault. Indecent assault, I just got to make sure this is a New Zealand response. This here says, this is my AI review, just we were talking about AI. Indecent assault is a sexual offence involving unwanted sexual contact or threat of such contact, excluding rape committed without consent. So it doesn't include that, obviously. So it's unwanted sexual touching or threats of such contact committed without consent. So that's what Google tells me the New Zealand definition is.
So Rosie in the chat has provided some clarification. The alleged indecent assault happened on a public bus on the way to the library.
Yeah, I'm just looking because I've got the New Zealand Police up at the moment. I don't know if it's got it. No, it hasn't got anything else. Okay, should we keep going?
Yep.
Each. Police have been very clear, though, that they do expect to lay further charges and make further arrests. They've strongly advised other protesters that they've been in contact with today to cooperate with police. Now, we reached out to Destiny Church. They did not want to provide a comment about the arrests made today. Those who have been charged are expected to appear in court early next week.
Should we give Brian a call?
Yes, always yes. And just so we know, Destiny Church, Freedom and Rights Coalition, Man Up, like those 3 organizations, if it's a Venn diagram, it's a fucking circle. If they're just going to hide behind, it's a different group. It's not Destiny Church. Don't smear the church. It's just everybody in this group goes to the church. It's a coincidence.
Yeah, I hear you. And I was sort of joking about, I was joking because, even though it would be funny, and I have got his number here, we were pretty clear that that was stepping over a bound when Karen did it. So we won't do it. Maybe I'll call him tomorrow, see if he wants to come on. Mind you, that was when I was at ZB. He's probably had 14 burner phones since then. So there's every chance that'll go through to someone who's had a new phone given to them by Vodafone going, what? This used to be what? So anyway, in the chat, Jeremy just says a late fee. And in control, gooseberries always gets me. They're gooseberries. Yeah, lieberry. I know I was being a bit of a dick there. I don't normally do that kind of stuff, but it just sounds, for a newsreader to say lieberry, I just thought that was funny. We look to them to be the bastion of all perfection when it comes to language. What else, Chewie? What else is going on? Or should we get off to our daily mention of school lunches? Because since coming downstairs about 20 minutes before the show, I've had another story added into it, and that's that TV3 has done some polling on the school lunches as well.
Oh, excellent.
So, okay, shall we get to that? Let's get to that,
Yep.
shall we? Oh, actually, maybe not. Let's have a little in between, because I've
Oh,
got a little,
the swerve. The swerve.
I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with you, because do you know that you caused me a lot of extra work today?
Chat, I just want you to know that this conversation has already happened before the show went to air, so he's really milking it.
I made some TikToks today, which I don't get very often time to do, because there was lots of good little chats last night that were kind of 3 minutes or under. And work with me here. I have to figure out how maybe we need to get you, you know, when people, I'll get a sentence out soon. You know, when people want to isolate something because they've got like a broken neck and they get those halos around their head and they put them onto their shoulders. I think we need to get one of those for you, because this, while you're talking, makes life difficult.
What's the point of having a spinny chair if I can't spin?
Makes life difficult to me.
Look
so
at that
much so,
perfectly locked off shot.
so much so that I had to learn how to track your head today. Interesting point.
Yeah, that's,
and I could have
that's
just
an
owned that.
excellent point.
I could have just owned that for myself, but you know, anonymous person might be watching, and yeah.
So imagine
watch this terrible tracking. Look at it moving.
It stood up and basically taken that long.
It's perfect.
Of like, this school lunch is a train crash that just won't stop crashing. He could chuck in a cheap shot there about someone involved in the Axe Party harming young boys. He could go.
You're moving. You've moved. You're switching sides. You're now on the other side.
The Minister of Education.
Yeah.
She wants.
You've done
no
a great
part
job,
of
though,
this.
Pat.
She does not.
I've
want to
upskilled
solve
you.
the
Move,
problem.
you're in the middle.
Her-
You're in the middle
her
now. That's the
most
middle.
Challenging
Now back
angle at
over
this
to the
point
right.
is how to make sure that these exploding superheated school lunches
Back you go. Back to the
don't
middle.
land on her lap.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be tainted with association with it. But at the end of the
I just want to say, Chewie, because apart from anything else, you've got a big noggin. Your head fills up the whole screen. So if you move a little bit, you go out of shot. I normally don't worry about it.
this
I normally
is
don't,
this is
but I had to. Look. See,
I
I
think
did
this
this.
gets
Okay, hang on.
bullying.
This one doesn't have tracking on it. You watch. See, look, off to that
Track this,
side. Look, off screen
Look.
completely.
no
Half
no
a foot.
sniper's
Back
going
in
to
the
get
middle.
me, Pat.
Back in the middle. You're a
You're right
sniper's
to
dream,
point out.
mate. The size of your head.
Yeah,
in the
that's
middle
why I have to
now.
keep on moving.
Off to the right. Off to the right. There you go. Look. Off you go. Go. Exit stage right. Sheesh, bro.
This
I just-
counts as bullying.
I just think that this.
You're bullying
I think this is the
poor
end.
old ADD sufferer Chewie.
I think this is the
Very
end.
difficult for me to sit still for an hour and a half.
Yeah. People talk about AI tracking. I don't. Yeah, the thing is, Premiere Pro doesn't have AI tracking. I looked and I thought, oh, this would be quite cool actually, because then we'll both be able to do it. And maybe one day in the future, I won't have to sit here like this the whole time. I'll be as cool and fluid as Chewie and just move around while I'm talking to you. And it'll just be fine for everybody.
Just be strapped back here. This is
But it
great.
was-
What's your
that was-
opinion on the government, Chewie? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to use gestures, but he super glued my chair.
All right. Sorry, there's a little side note. And I know that I didn't really want to talk about that, but Chewie said before the show we have to talk about that. That's really good. That's a really good point to talk about. Let's talk about lunch, baby.
Let's
shit. Talk about you and me. Here we go.
Education Minister Erica Stanford says
she got a visit. Erica got a visit from David today. I think they're an item now. I think it's official.
I would love to be a fly in the wall for that meeting.
It's Stanmore. It's Stanmore, the new couple. They got a visit.
offered David Seymour her full support as the pair finally held their meeting over the issue-plagued school lunch program. David Seymour insists it's getting better, but today Labor described it as an omni-shambles. Here's senior political reporter.
Chewie, I don't know if that really lands, to be honest. That might have just been one, he might have got to the point, how can we describe this as the worst of omni-shambles? I'm not really. I don't know if that lands as much as perhaps the PR team thinks it does.
Benedict Collins.
Meet Crackling the Pig. This Gisborne hawker chowing down on David Seymour's school lunches. Local kids find them far too bland and repetitive. Even when teachers insist they try them, the waistline grows.
I'm a little bit disappointed. Like, I hate puns. Puns are the worst thing in the world. But for the reporter there to talk about the waistline growing and not refer it to one's waistline, I just think there was a perfect pun to be used that the reporter missed out on. Just my thoughts for next time.
Waistline grows.
See?
Well, I've also had principals get in touch with me and say, we really go out of our way to model to the children that this is food which is being given to us and that we're grateful for, and that's a good attitude to take in life.
So what he's saying is, no matter how shit it is, you should be grateful for what we're giving you. That's actually quite literally what he was saying. And he was saying it's good that the principals are modeling to the students that actually no matter how shit this stuff is, you're being taught you're pretty bloody lucky to be getting anything. That's what Seymour's saying.
I've also had principals get in touch with me,
and mind you, he's not saying I've had principals get in touch with me and say how beautiful the food is. Isn't it interesting that he's not saying that? He's not saying, well, I've had lots of principals come and get in touch with me and say how fabulous this new program is. He's saying the lesson that I'm hearing from principals is to be grateful for being given anything. So he's not even using an anecdote to paint his service in a good light. So this is so shit. When he tries to defend himself by using an anecdote that he's heard, the anecdote is still about the principal saying, we know this is bad, kids, but we just have to be careful for any bit of gruel that sir gives us. Please, sir, can I have some more? Sorry,
it's definitely it's definitely a change in tone from the fact that he was apparently getting letters from school children telling him how great the meals are.
I wonder if the letters were F and U. They probably were. They were the two letters, F and U.
I didn't believe in the moment he said that they were letters and not Snapchats.
All right, let's keep going.
Well, I've also had principals get in touch with me and say, we really go out of our way to model to the children that this is food which is being...
Sorry, I can't leave this. We've gone out of our way to model to the children. So what the principals are saying was, it was actually kind of tough to model this. We had to go out of our way to model that these kids should be grateful. I mean, if it was cheesecake and lollies, you wouldn't have to go out of your way to model gratitude, would you, Chewie? Because the kids would be grateful. They'd be excited. But his anecdote to defend his product is to say that principals had to push shit uphill to say to these kids, we need to be grateful for this gruel. Okay, good win, Mr. Seymour. Mind you, remember that invitation's in your inbox. I want to talk to you.
Given to us and that we're grateful for, and that's a good attitude to take in life.
Yes, Chewie.
I was just going to say, do you remember all of those stories about Labor's lunch food program and how principals had to go out of their way to model being grateful, and that less than 2 or 3% waste that was going to pigs was entirely too much, and
criminal.
It's the comparison is jarring.
I think we're actually going to get that exact quote, and I believe, Chewie, it was criminal. Now, there's one other thing. Whānau, we need to support David Seymour in his difficult times. he's about to get asked a question about something he said last year. And that, no, Chewie, not funny. That is a gotcha question. And
my own words.
It's just, it's big meanie journalist saying, how can you justify these words last year? Big meanie journalist. And David Seymour points out, rightfully so, that him having to defend the hypocrisy about what's happening now and what he said last time is gotcha journalism. So just hold him close to your hearts, people, because Davey boy, he's struggling with all this gotcha journalism.
2 years ago, David Seymour was attacking the previous Labour government over almost criminal wastage in its school lunch program, pointing out lunches were going to pigs.
Yeah, your school lunches are literally being fed to pigs. Is that a bit ironic?
No, it's a good attempt at gotcha journalism for which you're becoming famous or rather infamous, but I just make the point that we're achieving wastage and surplus levels comparable to what we had before. Difference is we're doing it for half the price. For me, that's a big improvement.
A journalist asking you about your comments you previously made as gotcha journalism, is it?
Yeah, pretty much, because they're made in a totally different context.
Labour.
Yeah, the context was one that I don't want to have to defend. Remember yesterday, there was a journalist catastrophizing a situation, asking about the catastrophe that happened when a child got sent to hospital because of one of his meals. Yesterday they were catastrophizing. I know we all know this, but the right are such fucking snowflakes. They project strength. They project this all, oh, look at you wokesters and all snowflakes and soy boys. And as soon as they get held accountable for what they said or what they did, they melt. They melt. And then unfortunately, because people on the right, supporters of David Seymour, are even worse cucks, they get in behind, oh, excuse me, pardon me. Can't say cuck and get in behind in the same sentence. David Seymour and basically say, oh yeah, how much do you get paid by the government to ask that question? Snowflakes. Chewie, sorry, mate.
Maybe what he needs is more robust questioning. David, are you free in the evenings? We'll show you the difference. If you want gotcha journalism, if you want mean questions delivered at volume, we can do that for you. That'll make this question from an RNZ journalist seem like a lovely soft handshake. Like this is ridiculous. I don't like drawing this comparison too much. His response is Trumpian.
Yeah.
Right? Because he goes, it's gotcha journalism, but then he has to follow it up with going, you know, you're becoming famous for this sort of stuff, which is just nonsense. It's just nonsense. He's so disingenuous. He's so smarmy.
He's slimy.
And buried in there is the absolute egregious lie that apparently his swill pipeline has comparable levels of waste to the Labour program at half the price. Now that should be verifiable. We are hearing from schools hitting 70% wastage. The story that we're talking about, the school that has the amazingly named pig crackling, they're talking about getting 3 boxes of lunches and ending up with a bucket or a bucket and a half of waste from 100 kids. That doesn't sound like waste levels approaching 5%, does it?
Yeah, no. No, not at all. All right, let's get to the end of the story.
Reckons David Seymour's making a meal of it.
Look,
officially qualifies.
Yum yum.
It was the eyes, wasn't it? It was the 12 blinks. You can see he's struggling to swallow. It's the blinking. That's like, oh my God, what's in my mouth?
Labour reckons David Seymour's making a meal of it.
I think this now officially qualifies as being described as an omni-shambles. Basically, just everything that could go wrong has gone wrong with the school lunches program. David Seymour ignored all the advice at the beginning that his cut price lunches weren't going to work.
Yesterday, a key provider for the lunch program, Libelle, was placed into liquidation. Whangaparoa College were blindsided.
And we're in the dark as much as anybody else.
Libelle run their school cafeteria. Now, stocks are low.
The range is very limited, and we're probably running at about half stock levels, and therefore, learners and their families are having to source other ways of buying food and bringing food in.
Today, the Education Minister finally met with David Seymour.
They had a meeting. I bet you it was at a small two-seater table. They probably locked eyes, and then Erica threw up in her mouth a little bit.
To discuss the school lunch problems, more than a week after she asked him to meet.
We went through some of the complex and challenging issues, and I offered David my full support.
We discussed a whole range of issues around the school lunch program and how it's getting better.
Yet the ongoing problems mean the government's brought forward tougher monitoring of the program, with the potential for penalties if providers don't deliver. Benedict Collins, One News.
Well, there could be penalties, Chewie, but then they could also be just giving them more money because they can't do what they said they can do. Do you want to pick up on anything super quick? Because I want to keep going on to John Prendergast from this morning at breakfast. But if you want to use a chat or get in there.
I actually had squirreled away a little snippet from an article about the Compass Group supplying food overseas. I have lost that tab, I'm afraid. But if I could paraphrase, basically the exact same thing happened in, I think it was 2019.
Right.
That they couldn't supply to scale, they couldn't supply the quality, they couldn't hit their cost KPIs or anything like that. And that they promised that they would get better in the future. So if they're repeating the same problems here, like does this company have the ability to learn, to grow? Because they just keep repeating the same thing. This is a company that has been caught doing political bribes overseas. This is a company that has used mystery meat in their meals overseas. Like, why were they ever trusted? There's like, if you, what's your CV? Tell us why your company's good at this. There is not a thing that they could put on the table and go, yeah, well, certainly don't look at all of our scandals. That's irrelevant. We'll do a really good job. Yes, Pathu.
The answer to that question is because they were cheapest and the government needed to find $3 billion for landlords. That's why they chose them. Thank you. And then,
maybe that's what the principals need to really go out of their way to realise as the children. You have to eat this because we had to deliver more profits to landlords' portfolios. If you don't know what a landlord is, that's the person that mummy and daddy pay all their money to.
So now we need to do an official ask of the government to look at that contract, because this is John Prendergast. John Prendergast is the chief executive of Trust House. Trust House was one of the providers of school lunches before the change. When the government made the change, Trust House lost 50 of its staff. He talks about, is a $3 meal even possible? And you know what he says? These aren't $3 meals. And I know you guys might be going, oh yeah, Pat, we've heard you say this is probably a $2 meal or a $1 meal. No. These aren't $3 meals, because after they got the contract, they went, we need more money. So I wouldn't mind seeing that original contract, because it means that this government has not actually negotiated a good contract.
Can you realistically provide lunches for that price?
No, can we just go back to the $3? The $3 lunch is not a thing. The contract signed on the 22nd of October said $3. What hasn't been so widely publicised is that since then there have been a number of increases to that $3 payment.
Can I just jump in there, John? Sorry, can I just jump in very quickly, only because we did receive a response from the ministry who said that...
Ministry is getting ahead of this, you see that? See how the ministry is getting ahead of this?
Response from the ministry who said that the base cost still remains at $3 per meal per student. For year 9 plus students, an additional 84 cents per student is allocated for 2 extra food items.
So that's $3.84 for those years. They're not $3 meals anymore, but John has more information.
So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, so it's not a $3 lunch, but there's also been additional funding provided to schools to enable distribution of the meals within the schools.
So remember, we heard from that principal who said he was spending $1,000 to $1,500 a week on staff distributing food around the school. Well, apparently the government, according to John Prendergast, is now providing money to the schools for the distribution. So yeah, that may not be going directly to Compass, but there's another fee that the government is paying for these school lunches. So again, not $3 meals. There's one other thing.
Additional funding to schools to deal with the waste and the clean-up. That was all included in the previous price. And there's been a lot of talk about the $3 price compared to what's been cited as a $9 price previously. It wasn't $9 previously. It averaged about $7 previously. We think that the objective of achieving savings for taxpayers is good and it's well-founded. We believe that because
the last thing you want to overspend on is lunches for kids. Fuck those ones. Those kids of poor people, they've had it too good for too long, Chewie. They need to get taken down a peg or two, in my opinion.
We believe that if we had the opportunity, and we didn't have the opportunity in the ministry's procurement process to put prices in, we could put a price in that would be less than that average of $7 that it used to be, but it wouldn't be $3 or $4. We think the lunch currently costs around about $5.
So there you go. Someone from the industry who's lost work because of this change, who is now looking for work through this change, reckons they're about $5 meals. So this horse shit we keep hearing about saving, that's getting, I mean, $6 would be double. $5 is, what is that, 80% more on top?
Mm.
So this is this government telling us about, setting budgets and hitting targets and et cetera, and doing these $3 meals, and they're not $3 meals. They might be able to show you in their ledger how $3 or $3.84 is going to compass, but will they have on the same ledger the money going to the schools for the distribution of these meals? Will they have in the same ledger the money going to the schools for the cleanup and the waste from these? I doubt it. So let's just stop that straight away. These are not $3 meals, Chewie.
No, and this is showing another little governmental trick, right? Tell us the cost of one part, but not the entire program. You can do it on something small like a school lunch. You can do it something big like an inter-island ferry. Like, give us the total cost. And then show these meals side by side. Like, which one would you eat? What flow-on effects to the country or the community does buying it from Compass versus a local community group that knows the school, that knows the area, that knows the dietary restrictions, all of that sort of stuff? The cost of everything, the value of nothing.
Yeah. All right. 6 cents. Amelia has sent us a super sticker. I don't know what it is because it doesn't come up in this chat. Sure, you can tell me what it is if you want. But thank you for your super sticker. Exaldia says Chewie is part Italian, but it's on his hands. It's head movement. Chewie's nickname, Sniper's Nightmare. No, Sniper's Dream. Size of that noggin.
I've got a big ham head. Like, I know that my wife is not watching the podcast in the other room because any opportunity that she has to come in and tell me that I've got a big fat ham head, she takes.
Oh, true love. True love. I love it. I love it when you tell a true love.
I can't hear her running down the hallway, so she's not watching.
Apparently I milked that. I thought I gave it the perfect amount of attention, actually. I didn't milk that whatsoever. Are we sure Seymour's not a dad? Be grateful is such a dad move. Kiwi dad, that piggy is a legend, taking one for the team. Seymour retakes the worst example of a human crown. Vid says, yeah, it's a gotcha journalism. Gotcha, bitch. And because I care, thank you for your super chat. Would like to hear from these principals who are saying they are grateful publicly.
Oh, you wouldn't know them. They go to a different school.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have got a girlfriend. She's not from around here. I do. Yeah. She's really beautiful too. But she doesn't come. She can't come to the school dance. She's I think she's because she's a cheerleader and she's got a competition that night. So
Seymour has done this before. One of the things that I like on Blue Sky is you can follow accounts. And it just posts them up, and so somebody, someone on Blue Sky has a feed done for official information requests,
yeah,
and so I keep an eye on that. And one of the other ridiculous comments that David Seymour makes, because this is what he does. He makes ridiculous comments. Remember that one about how kids were getting pulled out of class to study compulsory te reo at the expense of maths and English? You know, he said that quite a few times. So someone put in an official information request that said, where are the examples? And there were none. He couldn't back it up. He had heard it anecdotally in an email from somebody. It wasn't researched. It wasn't looked into. There was no proof because it did not happen, but he kept repeating it. So all of these times that he says, I've spoken to principals, I've heard from kids, bullshit. Unless you can show us, David Seymour is telling lies. Yeah. Again, I'm not in the house, so I can say that. David Seymour is a liar.
I'll tell you what, we were going to do another story tonight, but I actually think, to be really, really honest with you guys, which is probably I shouldn't be, is that I haven't given this story enough credit. And it's actually, in my opinion, something that we should chase a bit further. I'll give you the headlines now, but actually we've got Barbara Edmonds tomorrow night, and Chewie, I've got a course on in the evening. So there may be a very early show set up tomorrow, and the thumbnail may not reflect a single thing that's in the actual show, because my te reo course, I didn't go on Monday because I was sick, so I got to catch up tomorrow night, and it goes from 6 till 9. You might be aware that something else happens at 9. So I will be bailing out of there at about 8:30 and booting home to get onto the show to talk to Barbara Edmonds, who's at this infrastructure wank fest going on at the moment. But we might look at this tomorrow night. And if we don't, because Barbara's there tomorrow and she's speaking on Friday. So she'll give us the review of the first day tomorrow, and then we'll get some more thoughts. And look, it's a wank fest. Oh, look, we got to do this. I was ready to go, but I guess we got to do this because this is basically what Chloe knocked out of the park.
I'm so glad you're going to play this because it's amazing.
Okay. So this is basically what she's talking about, the infrastructure, and this is what Barb's going to be at tomorrow. So it's a nice tie-in. Let's have a look, eh? Oh, sheesh.
In fact, it actively, demonstrably productivity. In fact, it actively, demonstrably, evidentially does the opposite. So what do we hear from the government about what their plans currently are? Well, we've currently got the Prime Minister embarrassingly simping to the international companies that he's got at his investor festival, asking them to fill the gap because the government refuses to take responsibility for building the infrastructure that all of us ultimately rely on. And that is because this government refuses to acknowledge the reality, which I might add many governments before it have as well, that you cannot build a productive economy on the sands of speculation. Mr Speaker, we in the Greens believe that Aotearoa New Zealand can aim a heck of a lot higher than simply hoping to have an economy which is us selling houses back and forwards to each other. This is an obvious monopoly system, and Mr Speaker, we do not live in a game of monopoly. We can indeed change the rules when they do not work for the majority of New Zealanders. So let's talk about that attempt at fiscal consolidation which this government is ploughing ahead with, whereby it is deciding to do so through a process of cuts, merciless cuts after cuts, instead of fixing the tax system. Because that tax system, which we hear them fire up about whenever we dare to mention the reality that the institution of the Inland Revenue Department in 2023 produced a piece of work which told us that the top 311 households own more wealth than the bottom 2.5 million New Zealanders. To connect the dots there, that does not just happen, Mr Speaker. That is an active consequence of political decisions which have been made to see those top 311 households pay an effective tax rate less than half of that of the average New Zealander. And these guys have the gall to say that they care about hard-working New Zealanders. They are further entrenching a system, Mr Speaker, which sees our nurses, our firefighters, our teachers pay an effective tax rate almost double that of the wealthiest in this country. And not only is that it's so deeply unfair and so deeply inequitable, but it robs us of the very productivity that they tell us that they care about. It robs us of the investment that we could be making in that infrastructure that all of us need. The fundamental problem with the economy and the tax system in Aotearoa New Zealand is that we overtax work and we undertax, indeed oftentimes do not tax at all, wealth. This budget does not increase productivity. In fact,
it's funny what she says, Chewie. It just makes me think of a T-shirt that that might be coming to the BHN store next week. So there you go.
If Chloe had finished that speech with "We march at dawn," I would already be on my way to Wellington.
Okay.
I'm fired up there.
Okay, but that's Barb tomorrow night.
This election that's coming, it's real close. It's coming. This election is going to be about tax.
Yeah, I think so.
I want it to be front and center.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like Labour and Greens are pushing it to the front there. And if they can manage to not trip over each other in doing it, we might actually get some change. We might actually get some people realize that 311 people
families
does not equal $2.5 million people.
So we will catch up with Barb tomorrow night because they're talking about infrastructure and she's there. And this is the story that we're not going to get to tonight, really. I will earmark it, though. If we don't get to it tomorrow night, I might fly it on to the kids for Friday night, or we might come back to it next week because it's not just a daily Today show. If you are on a benefit, then if you go to hospital for more than 13 weeks, they may cut your benefit.
What the fuck?
If a person's, that's what I'm saying. This actually needs a bit more in depth than just us reading from the story, which is why I'm happy to sort of look at it tonight, earmark it tonight, but come back to it. If a person spends more than 13 weeks in hospital, their benefit is automatically cut to $55 a week. Now just think about that. If a person does go to hospital for 13 weeks, what happens to, we're assuming, their rent? Does that just fly away so they don't have to pay their rent in their flat anymore if that's what they are? Goes to $55 a week. Some patients and advocates say that's not enough to survive on. Well, sorry for the Captain Obvious award. And the automatic process further punishes people who are too unwell to fight it. That's the headline, right? But what I've thought that I might do is try and get a hold of some of the people in the story and actually, actively attempt to be, well, we're always the dumbest person in the room, but do it with someone who's actively smarter than us, because that just sounds archaic and it sounds
unconscionable. Unconscionable.
Nice. You got there.
Mean. It's what? Oh, congratulations. You're out of your 15-week stay in hospital. You'll live. You're definitely not up to full stuff. By the way, you've lost your house. Yeah.
Because that's, I know that I'm stereotyping and not everybody who's on a benefit pays rent. Some people own their own houses, but even that, okay, if you own your, I think not many people on a benefit would own a house unencumbered. So there's going to be some kind of fee, a rent or a mortgage or something. And if you are very unwell at 13 weeks, hopefully the bank will understand that you're now only getting $55 a week, or the landlord will understand because of what this government has put in place. Now, I can hope, Chewie, and you know that I might be a bit of an optimist at times, you could hope that maybe this is something that, maybe this is the Doge minute, and once our own Elon goes, oops, didn't realize that was in the policy, they change it immediately, but that's what's being reported today.
Wow. I've got a couple of fun things for you. Well, not fun because this is our show and we don't do fun.
No, we suck.
So you know how Winston's on the charge against DEI?
I've got some stories about that as well, but yep, no time. Yep.
Oh, I just thought I'd bring up an exciting document.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. This is their list.
This is how they decide their list. it's also in their constitution. But the part there, the list ranking committee shall, at its complete discretion and by procedure that collectively decides, determine the order of candidates other than the leader and deputy leader. In ranking candidates, the listing ranking committee shall consider the ability, expertise, experience of candidates generally, and of the qualities that a candidate may contribute to the House of Representatives, the need for different genders, social groups, ages, and ethnic groups to be represented.
This is
That
what I was
sounds like
saying.
DEI.
This is what I was saying last night when I was talking to the number 2 in New Zealand First several elections ago, and he didn't know what the number 1 policy of New Zealand First was. They don't read this stuff. They don't know. So this is beautiful. I just realised, Chewie, as a part of this, I have we've forgotten to do one of the stories which was the poll on TV3, because at the end of the story, we're not going to play it all now, but they actually challenged Winston on that. So let's just do it super quick. Here's the poll on TV3 about school lunches.
We're trying to balance a budget.
The poll asked, how strongly do you agree or disagree that overall the new school lunch program isn't working? 65% either agree or strongly agree with that. Only 17% disagreed or strongly disagreed. The rest unsure.
Well, I'm very confident that as we solve problems, which we've got a track record of consistently doing, people's perception will improve.
The poll also asked whether people thought the government should return to the previous school lunch model. 60% agreed or strongly agreed with that, while 21% disagreed.
So that's all I'm going to show, because it just shows you that it's not just us, right? The other thing is Winston Peters on his woke war. There was an advert for a new employee to join his ministry, and Winston pulled it because the advert was too woke. And then, Chewie, they go on to challenge him about what you've just exactly said.
That's right. Winston Peters has introduced a members' bill trying to remove diversity, equity and inclusion policies from government hiring. This job was one that he has a say over, a job posted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. His ministry posted the ad this morning for a tikanga lead. The job ad said that it was a newly created position. The ministry was searching for someone who would lead the development and embedding of culturally appropriate tikanga and kawa across the organisation. The advertised salary for the role was between about 145 and 170 grand. But when Winston Peters caught wind of it via the media, he swiftly made an edict that the job shall not be filled.
Having been brought up in a Maori world, having spent time in court on Maori issues, I do know what tikanga is, yes.
Yeah, sorry, but do you know what the purpose of the job is that they're advertising, your ministry?
There will not be an appointment, all right? Look, sometimes these things these sorts of ideas get in...
He's got a vibe of anger about him. I like
and irrelevance.
Like ugly anger. Like dismissive, nasty, ugly anger. Like when he says here, he goes from laughing, I know there's an edit, but when he says there won't be a job, all right, it's like, you almost expect him to kind of push his chest. Oh, you hearing me? Like he has this thing. It's gotten uglier as he's gotten older. And I'm speaking from someone who lived in Tauranga 30 years ago and who has interviewed Winston a dozen times.
Sorry, but do you know what the purpose of the job is that they're advertising, your ministry?
There will not be an appointment, all right? Look, sometimes these things these sorts of ideas get dug in deeper than ticks on a hound. My job is to fix it.
How quickly do you want them to pull their ad down?
Oh, look, I'll give you a report, right?
What a dick.
Now, I've just checked and that job is still up. And in a twist of irony, Winston Peters is now facing allegations of hypocrisy after we asked questions.
What a gotcha question. Any kind of hypocrisy is a gotcha question.
After we asked questions about the diversity policies in his own party's constitution, the New Zealand First Constitution states that the list ranking of MPs should be made with consideration of the need for different genders, social groups, ages and ethnic groups to be represented. Mr Peters denies that is about diversity, equity and inclusion.
So, Chewie, that's not
he doesn't know what it is. Doesn't know what it is.
It's not it. All right, look, let's get to a couple of chats and it's time for me to get out of here. You can stay and chat if you want, Chewie, but it's time for me to go.
Okay.
Do you want to do anything quick? Come on.
I just want to do a couple of wee things. Nicola Willis has snuck some sneaky bullshit under the radar as well. You need to give me control. Give it to me.
You can take it off. There you go. It's gone. Yours.
Oh, there we go. 100-page consultation document was released on Wednesday morning with a press release from Willis, who said reducing the rules will streamline and simplify the processes for businesses. It included a plan to introduce new economic benefit tests and drop the requirements for government agencies to build new non-residential government buildings with a 5-star rating, purchase battery, electric or hybrid electric vehicles, purchase office supplies that produce low amounts of waste and or are recyclable, and pay the living wage in contracts for cleaning, catering and security guard services. That was a hard-won battle.
Is that woke?
All of it's what apparently paying people is woke.
Yeah.
Being not wasteful is woke. This is just the regressive bullshit that is just out of control with these guys. Like, this is fiddling while everything burns. But the bottom one there, taking away pay awards from cleaning staff, the people that clean Parliament, is just such a fucking slap in the face.
Yeah. And if those guys and girls who do the cleaning went on strike, MPs would be apoplectic about it, and it would just, the place would just scream to a halt. All right, some chats that are coming in. XLD, Seymour is why we need the new Welsh law that will lead to firings. It is politicians will lead to firing. It's probably politicians who are caught lying. There we go. I got there in the end, I think. Daniel says, late fee was playing 40k. Hit me up at Warhammer PHN.
Brother.
And Arvid says, notice how the anti-DEI bill is a members bill, not a government bill. Basically confirms it all. Show old man stirring up his crusty base.
Yeah. May it never leave the biscuit tin.
Now, team, tomorrow I will be racing back from class because I'm like a student and stuff. But we have Barbara Edmonds at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Other than that, remember, Chippy is with us on Monday night. And that's, of course, all things going well. I mean, Leader of the Opposition, if something massive happened in New Zealand or the world, obviously, we would understand. But as we currently look at the thing, Chippy on Monday night. Anything else before we go, Chewie?
Just one thing. I was going to put up the story, but obviously we're pressed for time. I just want to acknowledge the return of a New Zealand soldier who was killed in Ukraine 2 years ago.
Stop. This is important for you. Let's do it. It's not that it's not important for me, but I know this is your thing. So we don't need to go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Go for it.
I will put up the actual story then.
Yep.
So 2 years ago, there were a couple of New Zealand soldiers that were killed in Ukraine. The Russians have held on to his body for 2 years. And we've been trying to get him back. So he has been returned to the Ukrainians this week. A haka was performed in Kyiv for his remains. And his remains are on their way to New Zealand now.
Footage there? Can we play that? Is that worth playing?
We can put that up. I mean, we're all pretty used to seeing hakas delivered in numbers. It is a different vibe with 3 Kiwis far, far from home.
Yeah. Yeah, whether it's 3 or 300, it's powerful, man. Emotional, moving, powerful.
And just the efforts that have gone on in the background to get him back, and the fact that the Russians have been fighting it the entire time. Yeah. He's one of an unknown amount of New Zealand soldiers that are in Ukraine officially on leave.
Yeah. And as I said, no need to rush. Anything else you want to bring in with that? Anything you want to share, or we just want to acknowledge?
No, I'm glad that we finished on it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow night from 9 o'clock. And as I've been saying, we will have Barbara Edmonds with us to talk about the day of infrastructure and what this government is all talking about.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a sub and a higher in mind. All heavily neither this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Nothing else from me, team. That's it for tonight. Anything from you, Chewie?
No, that's it for me. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right, guys. We'll catch you all from tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News.
Big Hairy News.